excited to be kicking off this podcast today. The Savvy Young Professional podcast is going to help you navigate through your career, business, and life in a way that gets results in a savvy way. We will be interviewing experts from different fields that will give you the inside information on how to get ahead in your career, in your business, and in your life. There is also an opportunity for you to get your career and business questions answered here on the show so that you can get that second, third, or maybe even fourth opinion from our listeners. To find out more about the Savvy Young Professional, go to thesavvyYP.com, and there you will find tons of information to help you to get your career and your business and your life off the ground. So without further ado, let's kick this thing off. Today on the show, we have Victoria Ipri. Victoria is a LinkedIn expert and founder of Ipri International, whose missions include helping companies and organizations develop effective and engaging LinkedIn profiles. She is also the author of the book LinkedIn for the Clueless and the Curious. Please welcome Victoria Ipri.
Thank you very much, Tanida. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So, Victoria, tell us a little bit about how you became so engaged and so involved in LinkedIn.
That is a great question, and I never get sick of telling this story either. So I worked in healthcare sales and marketing for quite a while. I was on the road and got a little bit burned out and more or less got fired and quit on the same day. To keep that story short. And so I went home and said, gee, what am I going to do with myself? I was mad at the corporate world, and I thought I would never want to go back to work for someone else. So I said, I think I'm going to start my own business. So then the question was, what would that business be? And through a long series of crying and questions and talking to other people, I ended up starting a business as a copywriter, because writing had always come naturally to me.
Okay.
So that went great for about a year. I did that, and I used my acquired skills, and it really went wonderful. Now, this was back in 2006. The internet was not quite as sophisticated as it is today, but everything worked out great. And then probably around 2008, 2009, I got very involved with search engine optimization. It's a huge, important topic back then as the internet was evolving and growing. I got a degree from the University of San Francisco in advanced internet marketing. And that was awesome, and I started applying all these SEO techniques for my clients to help them make more money with their websites. And the end of 2009, I did a gigantic social media campaign, which I outsourced to a company who actually knew what they were doing. I had no idea what social media was about then, and it was pretty new. And they did an awesome job, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, I am a good writer, I have this skill, I have that skill, gee, and maybe I should learn how to do social media, and I can share that with my clients and give me a new skill to offer. And it looks like this social media thing is going to be kind of big. So little did I know, that's exactly what happened. And eventually I settled in on LinkedIn specifically because I was on the B2B, the business-to-business side of things. And it just was a natural fit. And I did my own profile, and people started asking me for help. And before you know it, I was earning a living from it.
Wow, that is a pretty cool story. Just jumping into the social media world and taking advantage of the fact that you knew information about it and you were kind of knowledgeable in that area. That's awesome, because LinkedIn...
That's true, yeah. And I also want to say, too, for the young professionals who are listening, that there was a lot of sort of moving forward in the dark as far as that career was concerned. But if you keep your eyes open for opportunity and you're not afraid to take some moderate risks, you can sometimes find these little areas where people need help and there's just not enough professionals that are able to offer that assistance.
Yeah,
you never know where things are going to lead.
Exactly. That's really what the Savvy Young Professional is all about, to be honest. So
Great.
Definitely connecting with what you're saying. So you decided to get into LinkedIn, and now you are just very well known for your
Thank you.
expertise in this area. And I actually found you on LinkedIn, of course,
Of course.
through the Confident Copywriter, and that was a pretty interesting group. So the first
Hmm.
question I'm gonna pose to you is that what makes LinkedIn such a good place, or such a powerful tool for young professionals? What do you think?
Excellent question. That's a great question. So LinkedIn CEO, who is Jeff Weiner, has often said and recently said that the point of LinkedIn is to help professionals to build and manage their identities, to create and leverage their professional networks, and to gain the knowledge they need to be more successful in their careers across multiple screens and devices, because today many people are using mobile devices to access these kinds of sites. So that is actually a direct quote from him, but I've kind of adopted it as my own philosophy because it very nicely lays out what the true purpose is for being on LinkedIn in the first place. So something we see a lot with young people who don't have lots and lots of years of experience in the corporate environment is that they either get discouraged or become complacent about their own professional development. They're used to Facebook, they're using Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, these sort of or Twitter too, these very short platforms where there's not a whole lot that's expected in terms of creating posts and engaging with people. And the thing is that those kinds of sites really are not going to help the young professional to build a professional identity. They're fun, but in terms of the professional identity, they're not going to help. So
Right.
what often happens to young professionals who are in this group, they're faced with this challenge about how to approach mentors. So I was sharing with you earlier that many young people I've spoken to feel like they have nothing in common with the kinds of people who could possibly mentor them or help them get through the early years of their career. So they sort of hang back, like, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to talk to these people. Because they have limited expertise in work-related relationship building, they might even be doubtful about their own abilities to be successful. And they may think to themselves, why would this person want to help me? We have nothing in common. How do I approach this person? What do I say? But the truth really is that there are many entrepreneurially minded executives who are happy to mentor young professionals, and they have no expectations about any kinds of outcomes. They just want to help them get started in their career. So there's this idea behind social media, which is called the principle of reciprocity. It's a big word that simply means that it's human nature that when someone does something of value for someone else, that person feels like they should do a favor back. All of social media is really built on this principle of give and take. So if you're lucky enough to come in contact with a mentor, possibly through your parents or through someone where you work or any older person that you know who's been in the workforce for a while, you want to really value that relationship. You don't want to just take from that person. You want to give back whatever you have that might be of value. It could be your time, your own unique expertise. People that you're connected to might be valuable to that person. So really LinkedIn and all social media is built on this idea of sharing. But where LinkedIn makes the difference is because its members, and this has been proven and talked about quite a bit, its members are among the best educated and most affluent when compared to members of other social media networks. So LinkedIn is awesome for networking because networking is essentially relationship building, but at a very organic level. It's not very comfortable to do, and people who tend to be shy or introverted may shake their heads over networking and say, I don't really want to go do that. But it's really critical to your success, whether you're networking online through LinkedIn or in person at a networking event. You got to get out there and know people, find people, and let them know about you. So really all the Internet has done is, we were networking way before things like LinkedIn came along in person, but the Internet simply has widened our reach and made the world smaller, so to speak, so that we can be in contact with more people of value and they with us. In terms of networking on LinkedIn, to sort of get back to your question, I know I strayed off of that a little bit. There are more than 300 million members on LinkedIn across 23 countries, and there are more than 1 million groups. And the groups are really the gold of LinkedIn. So there are professional groups, networking groups, alumni groups, groups built around various types of interests, similar interests. Many of these are open groups, meaning any member can join those groups. So while we're going to talk a little bit about the profile and some other parts of using LinkedIn, I want everyone to remember that the groups is really where you get the ability to meet people, connect with people, grow those relationships, get your face out there, get your opinions and your thoughts out there, and start off that relationship building that's so important to getting hired, coming in contact with people who can hire you.
Exactly. Victoria, it sounds like what you're saying is that the powerful part of LinkedIn is the idea that you're networking, just like you're networking on a lot of other social media sites, but except for this group is the group that you want to be around. This group is the group of people that is going to help you take it to the next level compared to
Right,
the group that you're going to see on other social media networks. And I think that
right.
is what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Exactly. Of course, another social media principle is this like, know, trust factor, which says that people tend to buy from people that they like, know, and trust. So you're selling yourself, essentially, as a person who would make a great employee or whatever your cause might be in terms of your career. Well, how do you get people, totally anonymous people, across this platform where no one can see each other? How do you get those people to like you, know you, and trust you? In that kind of sort of anonymous environment, one of the most important ways is for people to see you and get used to hearing from you. And that's what groups really allow you to do, is to get that exposure and visibility so that people can start to feel like they know you a little bit. And then when they hear your comments and you post your own information and you're active in these groups, and people are like, oh, this is a person who has good opinions and they have these great qualities, and I kind of trust this person. And that's really the foundation for building a relationship.
It really is, both online and also in person. So that leads me
Mm-hmm.
to another question. It sounds like, in my opinion, that LinkedIn is the place that I would want to be, and most young professionals would want to be based on what you're telling us right now.
Yeah.
So, why is it that LinkedIn is so underutilized compared to all these other social media networks?
Well, that's an awesome question. If you're just going to strictly compare numbers to each other, LinkedIn is one of the smaller platforms compared to Facebook or some of the other bigger ones. But I don't really think about LinkedIn as being a social media platform exactly. I think that I see LinkedIn as a place that offers a suite of professional relationship building tools and a platform that's widely used by recruiters who pay really high fees to have a seat, so to speak, and be able to look for well-matched candidates. So there's sort of two sides, what was really three, but two sides going on LinkedIn. There's the side where people are seeking new business for their own companies, and then there's the side where people are job seeking or moving forward in their career, which is where a lot of young professionals will find themselves at. So the difference being that the LinkedIn members aren't going to post a picture of their cat doing funny tricks or what they had for dinner last night. That's not going to go on their homepage because they get a lot of objections to that, although there's some fun stuff going on there too. But really they're there to share the latest business news, latest news about a certain industry, information that's maybe breaking, their opinions on certain topics. This is all what's going on there. And there are young professionals who view this as quite boring. Like, well, I don't have anything to say. I have nothing to share. That's really part of moving into or moving forward in a corporate environment, is the ability to have conversations around these business topics and get away from things like sharing a plate of food. Nobody really wants to see that or know that.
Right.
It's not
Okay.
going to help you in your career.
Exactly. I mean, if it did,
Mhm.
I would post pictures of food all day.
Right,
If only
exactly,
it
right?
could. So
Yeah,
I read in your book you mentioned that it's 50% of the people on LinkedIn do not have complete profiles. I mean, that's a lot of people. So,
that's true. I'm not sure that number is exactly true now because that was written a little while ago. I don't know what the exact number is. I would imagine it's even higher than that now.
wow.
Very true. So the CEO has shared with us that 2 new members join LinkedIn every second of the day. So
Okay.
in terms of thinking it's underutilized or there's not many people there, it is growing rapidly. Their stock prices have been over $200 for many months. They had a successful IPO. There's a lot of great stuff going on there that isn't happening on sites, other social media sites. It's
Exactly.
considered a good investment.
And and I'm noticing that myself as far as LinkedIn and
Yeah.
with people getting on. So people are getting on, but they're not
Hmm.
maximizing their potential on LinkedIn, which is really your area of expertise. So if
That's
you
right.
have the people getting on and they're not quite pushing that profile to the next level, could you give us three tips that maybe can help a young professional really take that basic dry profile and push it to the next level and get a little bit more exposure?
Yes, of course. There's so many tips I could share. I'll try to keep it down to 3 if I can. But, a lot of times younger people feel like they're sort of at the bottom of the food chain. That's a probably bad expression to use. But as your expertise grows in whatever your chosen field is, and you grow your network using a site like LinkedIn, also your power and your influence grow among people who appreciate the information you have to share. So that's also a very important facet of LinkedIn, and it all begins with the profile. So if we want to pretend LinkedIn is a wheel, the profile is the hub. It's about individual visibility and getting exposure for yourself so you can reach your goals, assuming those goals are finding your dream job or even just becoming employed, possibly. So if people don't see you, literally, then how can they buy what you're selling, which is yourself? So you need that exposure and visibility, and you can't be shy about playing up your talents and your achievements. Because on a site like LinkedIn, it's not bragging. A lot of us feel like, oh, I don't want to brag about myself. It's not bragging. It's really an authentic form of self-promotion with substance, if I could use that little cliche. And this is the ability to describe what makes you valuable as an employee and as a professional is crucial for reaching your career goals in a world that's gone to almost totally digital. So that's why the profile is so important. So now to answer your question specifically, the most important parts of the profile would be your photo, very important. We'll talk about that in a second. The headline, which is the words that go directly underneath your name on the profile, and the summary, which is the description of your professional value. And then after that, I would say probably the job experience area for young professionals would be the next important part.
Okay.
So your photo has to be clear and has to project warmth and confidence. That's actually a lot for one photo to do.
Right.
All right? So you don't have to pay a photographer to get a great picture, but you want to avoid using a picture that has family members in it, or your arm around your dog's neck, or you've cropped yourself out of a picture where you were out with friends and now your friend's arm is wrapped around your arm in the picture. These are not good professional pictures.
Not at all.
And selfies really are not going to work in a professional setting either.
Okay.
So the suggestions are dress professionally, at least from the neck up. So guys, put on a suit and a tie, because the picture will include probably shoulders or neck up through your head, obviously. Stand against a plain background. It can be colored, but don't have lots of fussy things hanging on the wall. And then have someone snap a nice smiling, please smile, shot of you in good light from a good angle. So the bottom line on the picture is kind of sad, but we do judge people pretty instantly in life, and hiring managers are people, and they will judge you by your photo. So you don't want to give the wrong impression in that picture, or false impression of who you are, what you stand for. So the photo is actually, they've done eye studies with recruiters. The Latter's just published a study. The photo holds a lot of weight, so it's really important to do that right.
Right. You talked about the bad impression, or the kind of lazy picture where you just kind of cropping things out and people's arms in there. But I mean, even worse than that are the people who don't have any picture at all. You're just a gray blob.
That is very true. LinkedIn has published statistics that profiles with photos are 7 times more likely to be viewed.
Wow.
So if your goal really is to stand out and be found and be seen, got to have a picture. People want to know in this anonymous environment who they're dealing with. They want to see that person. You got to get a good picture up there.
Okay.
Yeah. So then there's the headline. So you get 120 characters to play with in the headline, and this is not just your listing your job title like you might do on a resume, but it's really a snapshot of your professional value. So you want to use descriptive words that are highly searchable. So here's a good example. A while back, I worked with a young lady, and she wanted to use the phrase digital anthropologist.
Okay.
And I had no idea what that was, and it turns out it was a totally made-up title. It didn't mean anything. She just thought it was interesting sounding. It had something to do with writing copy. I don't remember. But a made-up title, or go being too creative or trying to be too cute in creating a headline is going to get you nowhere, because you're not going to get found when other people type in words in a search to find someone like you. So LinkedIn is a search engine that works very similar to Google. People are typing in keywords to look for someone with your skills and abilities. If you don't put those in a way that is logical and makes sense, you're not going to get the exposure. You won't get found in search, and therefore a person doesn't have the opportunity, a person being a hiring manager or a recruiter, doesn't have the opportunity to find you in search and then be interested enough to take the next step, which is to go to your profile and learn more about you. So that headline is really can be the be-all and the end-all. The top part of the profile is what shows up in a Google search and many other kinds of searches. So even if you didn't write a summary or any job experience, a headline could make or break you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Well, it's the first thing that a person would see. And so it kind of reminds me of when you go into a restaurant sometimes and you're met at the door, and your hostess, that's the first impression. That's the
That's
very first
right.
thing that people see. So from there is where they're going to judge whether or not they want to eat at this restaurant, or what kind of experience they're going to have when they get there. So
Right. That's exactly right. It's
awesome.
like a personal billboard. That's another good way to put it.
Okay.
And then the summary is this area where you can put in a description about yourself. You get 2,000 characters there. You don't have to use all 2,000. Shoot for 2 or 3 solid paragraphs that really describe what LinkedIn's founder, Reid Hoffman, calls the brand you. So don't just describe your job duties like you might do on a resume, but you want to give people a feel for your personality, what makes you worth knowing, what might make you worth scheduling an interview. What is it that, if you would say maybe in an interview about why you're a qualified candidate, these are the things you want to talk about, but in a friendlier, more approachable kind of a way. You do definitely want to write in first person, not third person. So don't refer to yourself by name, but just talk about yourself using I did this and I've done that. That's perfectly fine in the summary. And for young professionals, of special importance is volunteer experience. Since they probably only have a short time in the paycheck universe, that volunteer experience can really say a lot about your character, your interests, where you are right now, where you see yourself going in the future. These are things employers are very interested in.
Oh, okay. So the summary
And
is really a place for you to kind of explain that the introduction, that headline, and go into detail
yes,
about what the photo, and put people make the connection to what they see and what you said
That's
you
right.
do.
Right.
Okay,
So it's sort
perfect.
of like reading a book. You might be attracted by the cover photo of the book, and then you see the title, and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then what do? You flip to the back, or you open the flap, and you start reading what the book is about. There's a natural human tendency. So that's what people are doing on your profile. They see your photo. I mean, even if you don't have to be a beautiful person by what standards of whatever society you live in. It just has to be a nice picture, like we talked about. So they see a good picture, a professional picture, they automatically start to take you seriously. Then they read your headline, they're like, oh, that's interesting, and then they go down to the summary.
Awesome. Okay,
All right?
we have the photo, the headline,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
summary. And I want to
Right.
go back a little bit, Victoria, because you talked about the groups being gold. Go
Yes.
a little bit more into that. Well, let's talk about the gold.
Okay, let's talk about it. I just wanted to make one other point about the profile. No typos. Check
Okay.
for typos. There's no excuse for typos on your profile. Always use the little mantra, typos torpedo talent, because recruiters and hiring managers and employers, they see these typos and they assume you're a careless person. You just threw it together. So if you're not good with spelling or writing, get someone who is to help you with it. But really make sure you have no typos on there. Okay, so groups. Uh, Not quite sure where to start on that. There's just so many things to say about it.
Okay, well let's drill down a little bit on the groups. If I'm a young professional and I see that I can join these groups, what can I do to help people get to my profile from the group?
Right, right. Okay, so we talked already about the like, no, trust factor and getting people to become accustomed to seeing you in the group. So the first thing would be to not be a lurker or a wallflower in that group. So when you join the group, you want to hang around just a little bit, see what kinds of things people are posting, kind of get a feel for the room, so to speak, and then you want to start participating. You want to put up your own posts with interesting information. You can ask a question and get the group's opinion. You can post something you read that you'd like to share. Many opportunities for what can create a group discussion. But you want to absolutely participate so that people begin to see you there and become aware of your presence. You also want to participate in other people's posts so that that's another way to get exposure. But again, going back to this idea of reciprocity or give and take, it's not always about you. It's really about other people and supporting what they're doing. So be sure to comment on what other people are posting and be compassionate, be warm, be friendly, be smart. Don't be argumentative. Don't try to start fights. You can agree to disagree. All the normal conventions of etiquette that we follow in society, it's the same thing on LinkedIn.
Exactly. I think when I think about LinkedIn, I think about work. You know, you go to work and you do
Yes,
talk about life issues and world issues, and it's
yes.
still very current when you're talking to your coworkers or your clients. And but you know how to keep it professional. So that conversation that you might have with a client or a coworker might not look like the conversation you'll have with your brother and your sister at home over the dinner table,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yes,
Awesome. Okay.
that's right. And it's, again, and we've said this before, it's not that different than any kind of behavior you might have in a group of people. If you wouldn't say it out loud somewhere in a group of strange people, why would you post it online?
Yeah, exactly. I
It's even
wonder.
worse because whatever you post online stays there pretty much forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we got some pretty good information about LinkedIn, and I think
Yeah.
I read through your book and I saw a couple of
Hmm.
things that really stood out to me, and a lot of it was about your reputation, you online, and you kind of branding yourself. And one thing that I thought was interesting is that you when you're on LinkedIn or any social media for that matter, I'm pretty sure it could go for any other platform, but giving those what you call small goods, those those congratulations on your new job, or
Yes.
wow, you did a great job on that presentation. Thanks for sharing that on LinkedIn with us. Giving those
Mhm.
compliments and giving those maybe articles or information that are those what you call small goods.
Yes. That's right. Just like you would do in your regular daily life.
Okay.
Sort of take the focus. I mean, clearly this kind of interaction online is about us. I mean, it's about you. You want to get attention, you want to get recognition, you want visibility, you want exposure. We all want those things. But the way to get them is not to always shine the light on yourself, but to shine the light on other people. And in doing so, you will also be rewarded. It might sound a little corny in today's age, but that's really how it works.
Yes, classics. Nothing's changed
Yes,
about that. That's for sure.
that's right.
Okay, Victoria. Well, I want to give you some time right now to really talk about you and what you have going on next, and any maybe trends you see in LinkedIn, or what kind of business people can do with you and how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, I actually have two companies. The first is the one you mentioned, Ipri International, and that's the arm of the company that does the profile optimization, helps people choose keywords and write their headlines and craft their summaries and their job experience in a way that's both informative and engaging. And I do that all day long for all kinds of LinkedIn members from all industries and walks of life. So you don't have to be a certain type of person to get that kind of help. There is a fee, but it's not a high fee, and it's affordable for everyone. I also offer phone coaching. So for someone who wants to work on their profile themselves, but just wants a little coaching to get in the right direction or get some questions answered, that's another service they can take advantage of. I also do company page building, which is not important for young professionals so much, but for companies who want sort of a little mini website about their products and services.
Okay, great. And
And then there's, go ahead.
where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me all over the place. You can Google me. You can just Google my name. Last name is spelled IPRI. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. If you search for me there, you'll find me all over the place. And the IPRI International website is currently under construction, so I hesitate to send anyone there, but it'll be up soon, and they can find me there as well. But really, just Googling me or going to LinkedIn is the best way to find me.
You can find all the links and resources mentioned in this podcast in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this podcast, head over to thesavvyYP.com for more career, business, and life tips. Keep it savvy, YPs.